Ryan Chambers from Starcastic Remarks joins the show. We're going to hear his reaction to the Mikko Rantanen trade deadline spectacular, and the Dallas Stars have some massive upcoming games. We'll get into all of it on today's episode of Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. And welcome back to the show, Ryan Chambers of Starcastic Remarks. It's been a few weeks since we have been able to catch up. I believe it was during the Four Nations break. The Dallas Stars have been on a heater. The trade deadline has occurred, and we have so much to get into. But first, Ryan, thank you so much for taking some time tonight. I hope you're doing well. And how are you doing so far, good sir?
Very good. Career-wise, non-Dallas Stars related stuff. I told you what was going on, pre-recording. In the band world, there's this thing called UIL coming up. It's basically like our star test, for anybody that doesn't know that. And nothing happened, right? And the last, nothing happened. It was just, Jim Noel likes where the team is at. He lies.
Yes, he does.
He lied this time.
He certainly did. He certainly did. So let's get right into that, man. I want to hear your entire day on Friday, because I woke up with a text from our Locked On NHL manager that said Rantanen on it. I said, oh my God, we got him. To find out it wasn't quite a done deal yet. And eventually I had to continue to wait. I went to the gym, and that's when it popped out that the Stars had reached a contract extension. So I ran out of that gym as fast as I could at about 5 minutes on the treadmill to get home to record an episode. So I want to hear your reaction. And did you feel like it was a tease? Because I woke up and I said, it's never going to happen, is it? I feel like there's going to be a whole tease the whole day, but I want to hear your reaction to Friday and what went on with Mikko.
So I was doing some post-production podcast stuff for our own show Thursday night. And normally when I say I do post-production, I could have it done in like half an hour, but I'm weird and I scour the internet for the latest news, and I check X numerous times and yada, yada, yada. But I also watch Hockey Guy videos. Shout out to Shannon, by the way. And I was just in the middle of post-production, just it was around midnight, a little after probably. And I see a notification pop up on my screen, and I'm just like, it's probably nothing. I was just like, you know what? I'm fixing to go to bed. You know what? Let's indulge myself a little bit. And then Elliot Friedman just dropping a bomb on that, and the news that he came out with. And my first gut reaction was, what? It's like, we had been talking about this for weeks, right? but this was never this was a pipe dream. Let's be honest. This was a pipe dream. Like a player of that caliber is actually available, and the Stars are actually being considered for it. Whoa. And on top of that, Jim Nill is considering it, considering all the pieces he's having to give up. Whoa. And then they drop another bomb, and on that same thread, and Elliot Friedman is just like, they're working out an extension as part of the deal. And I'm like, going nuts, and him saying, oh, it's going to get taken care of over the next couple of hours, right? So, of course, like most of the other diehard Stars fans out there, I was dumb, and I stayed up till 2:30 in the morning waiting for some news. And finally, I gave up, and I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to bed. But I did do the exact same thing that Leah of the Dallas Morning News did. And I set an alarm for every single hour at 3, at 4, at 5, at 6. And then finally at 6, I had to wake up for work, and still nothing really. And it's still kind of, percolating a little bit. And then I forgot who it was exactly. It might've been Darren Drager who said he kind of threw some water on the fire and said, there is not a deal. Like, it is not done, is basically what he kind of phrased it weird, but it's at a stalemate at this point. Then Elliot comes out, and I'm like, oh, well, you know what? I'm not all that upset about it. The team is in a good spot where they are. I like where the team's at. I'll pull Jim Nill's word. And then they talk about all the details about, oh, well, Rantanen wants 13 or 13 and a half. And Dallas is like, well, we're not going a penny over 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, you know what? Good for both sides. Like Dallas is staying firm in their belief that they're sticking with the 12, and Rantanen, to his credit, is sticking with what he believes his value is. And you absolutely should stick up for what your value is. And then just out of nowhere, around noon, it's confirmed. 8-year extension for Rantanen, $12 million per. And when I saw that, I just about flipped out. And I was in my office at school, and some of my coworkers were like, "Ryan, are you okay?" Because I yelled at the top of my lungs. I was just like, and headphone warning, I'll say it away. Rantanen is a Dallas Star, and everyone else was like, "What? What's going on?" And I was just like, "Let's put this in Dallas Fort Worth terms. The Stars just traded for Luka, and showed Nico Harrison how to be a real GM. Sorry, no shots taken, but yes, shots taken." And I went absolutely ballistic, and I was so excited. And then I saw what the possible return was, and I'm like, oh no. I was like, please no. And of course, it had to be Logan Stankoven the other way. So the 24 hours, the amount of emotions that I went through, and I'm sure a lot of other Stars fans went through, and your own listeners here went through, was just extreme excitement at early hours in the morning. A little bit of a letdown with the fact that, oh, well, it might not actually happen. Well, it's still cool, whatever. The initial news that, boom, okay, it's a done deal. He is a Dallas Star. And then understanding what the return is for him coming to Dallas. It's just such a mix of emotions, and especially with it being Logan. And as someone who has talked to Logan on several bases, I've talked to him in the press box a couple of times. We did an interview with him on Sarcastic Remarks before he even got his pro career like truly going. He was starting to get there. I was doing nothing but rooting for the guy, and it really, really, really sucks, because like this is a guy who cares about the fact that he's a great hockey player. That he is a fantastic character guy and one of the best people you will ever meet. And if you ever have the chance, I'm getting teary-eyed, sorry. If you ever have the chance to actually truly meet him, he is incredible. Just absolutely incredible. So again, emotions out the wazoo for both sides. It was just a fun day and a sad day at the same time.
Bittersweet is the word I used. I was doing a live show when they announced, or Elliot Friedman announced, that the contract extension had been done. And during the live show, the package came through, and I saw it. It included Stanky, and of course a couple of first round picks. And I said, it is bittersweet because we have watched him grow up in some way, and he really hasn't even fully grown up. It was in his rookie season still. Like, it was his first full year as a Dallas Star. And this was the quote unquote ugly side of the business, unfortunately. But you have to realize it was the right move for the Dallas Stars. And I said it on Friday, you do that 100 times out of 100 to grab somebody like Rantanen. And I think Jim Nill said on DLLS today that he could draft for 10 years and never find a Mikko Rantanen. And it really is interesting now to hear what's coming out of Carolina, and just hearing what's coming out of other places following the trade, about Mikko basically going up to Rob Brind'Amour and said, I'll play for 4 teams. You're not one of them. And I also have heard a lot of flack from fans of, Colorado and Carolina, and about his production was so bad in Carolina, like good luck and all this stuff. And all I have to say to that is hear what other teams that are not Carolina and Colorado, or other fan bases, are saying about the Dallas Stars. And Elliot Friedman said on 32 Thoughts, there was multiple front office members saying they did not want Rantanen to go to Dallas. because that makes him very, very good. And that's how good of a player Rantanen is. And he seems to be an excellent fit. He seems to be happy in Dallas with the rest of the Finnish Mafia. What have you made of his first couple of games here in Dallas? Unfortunately, Rope goes down because we were hoping we were going to see him and Robo together, but he looks comfortable and he looks exactly as advertised, in my opinion. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Factor. Looking to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Plus, Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfast, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. Factor takes the stress out of meal planning. You can try the Protein Plus meals. They're packed with flavor and they keep you full throughout the day. It's convenient. No prep, no mess, just great food in minutes. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off and use code LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code LockedOnNHL50 off at factormeals.com/LockedOn50 off to get 50% off free shipping on your first box.
Now, it's a little bit cheating, but he's a goal per game, right? So far?
Yes, exactly.
So
empty net merchant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not expecting him to be able to keep up that pace. Obviously, I mean, if he does, great, fantastic. But the thing about it was, this is a deal. Jim Nill did the right thing. And I'm sure it absolutely killed them to give up 3, basically, let's be honest, 3 first-round picks, Logan Stankoven basically being a first-round pick, and 2 third-round picks. And what's even worse is one of those first-round picks, Logan Stankoven, the time that was spent into him and the belief that he had in him too. Like he could have passed over him just like everybody else did in the first round and halfway through the second round, and he didn't. He was like, you know what? Okay, we'll take him. We'll take him. And Logan made it worth their while. And honestly, if it wasn't for Logan, Mikko Rantanen would not be a Dallas Star right now. So it's a little bit bittersweet. Now, in terms of how he fits with the Stars, it's a hole that I didn't even realize we had. And I don't even necessarily want to call it a hole. It was just, I don't know how the best way to put it. It was just a hole that had a continuing cast going through that door, like a revolving door, right? And it didn't matter who was in that revolving door, aka the right wing side on that top line. They played really well, whoever it was, whether it was Wyatt, whether it was Logan, Maverick has also looked good on that line. It's hard not to look good on that line. But one of the things that I talked about, you remember I came on your show and I was gushing about Ryan O'Reilly and I was like, please, Dallas, go and get Ryan O'Reilly. This is an upgrade over Ryan O'Reilly in every sense of the aspect of the term. Like when we were talking about getting Ryan O'Reilly, the two of us, I was thinking, maybe he'd play on the second or third line, not on the top line. Mikko Rantanen is an absolute plug and fill on that line. It's perfect. It's exactly what he plays. He gets to play with the countryman and Rope Hintz. He knows Rope very, very well. And he's familiar with the Stars because, unfortunately for us, he scored a lot against the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
And now he's on our side. So in terms of fit, he fits really, really well. Now, so I've seen a lot of good things from him over the last just the 2 games that he's played. And yeah, I know we all talk about his offense and stuff like that, but even some of his back check is pretty good. And everyone talks about how well he doesn't back check. That's not what I saw in the 2 games. Again, small sample size, but still, he looked really, really good in the last 2 games. He's got 3 points in his first 2 games. We'll take it.
And Rantanen as a defender is sort of, I think, what a lot of, I guess, front offices want out of Luka Doncic on the defensive side. You just need to be a willing defender. You don't have to be good. just be willing. And that's what I saw out of Rantanen in the last game. He was willing to defend, but at the end of the day, you need him to score and be an elite playmaker. And that's what he was. And some people were concerned about his lack of production in Carolina. I just think it's an entirely different system, and he just never got comfortable. I think if Carolina played it out and they held on to him, he would eventually figure it out, and you would be you'd be in love with him because he is just an elite playmaker. And you look at his playoff numbers too. That's what gets me excited. 101 points in 81 games, like that is massive, and that's a score the Stars can rely on. And you can of course argue that Nathan MacKinnon propped those numbers up a bit. I'm not going to argue with you. Nathan MacKinnon makes everybody better around him, but I'll also say I think Roope Hintz makes everybody better around him. I think Miro Heiskanen does. So he's going to get some opportunities. And Mikko is an elite playmaker. It's not like just an elite goal scorer. He has 67 assists in 81 playoff games. That means he's dishing out some too. It's not like he's just getting fed at the back door by MacKinnon and tapping in power play goals the whole game. And that's where I tell Stars fans, be a bit cautious about what you're listening to about Rantanen. There's a lot of jaded versions about who he is right now because some other teams just weren't able to get the job done. And unfortunately, Jim Nill was able to put on another masterclass. So just great to see him in the building. Great to see him in Victory Green. Can't wait till he gets back and plays his first home game at the American Airlines Center. But it looks like here in the first couple of games, it's going to be a great fit. And the Stars are going to be very, very happy with their purchase. I would have been happy with Mikko's a rental. I'll be completely honest. But if you're going to go out and get him, you might as well sign him on for a number of years. And they also got Wyatt Johnston done, which was huge. So I'll ask you on that too. The Wyatt Johnston news was also massive on Friday. It was reported earlier the week that it was 8 years, a little bit over 8, but I'm sure when Mikko came to fruition, they had to maybe pull back a little bit, but still 5 years at, what was it, 8.4, I think was the AAV there. Your reaction to Wyatt Johnston at 21 years old. They got him locked up now for at least the near future.
I mean, what else can you say? He is on his way to being an elite player. And like before we got Rantanen, we've been talking about how good this team is. But what did this team lack is a superstar. And we had no idea the Rantanen thing was coming, but we were looking at players within the Stars lineup that were like, okay, which one of these guys can become an elite player? And a lot of people, and especially after he scored the hat trick, it's like, okay, maybe Wyatt Johnston is on his way to being an elite player. He started low and he started slow, but he's just gone above and beyond. And every single year, and this is hard to do consistently, he has upgraded his game. And it didn't matter what it is, whether it's he's going to surpass his point total this year. I guarantee you that. I don't see how he doesn't. And that's with him starting slow. Yeah. He's very close. I think he's within 10 or something like that. And
he's within 5 points.
Oh, well, there he goes.
Yeah. It's 65 and 82 last year. So he's probably going to smash it.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, this is a guy who led a team with Matt Duchene and Jason Robertson and Roope Hintz, Jamie Benn, Evgeny Dodonov, all of these scorers. He led them in goal scoring last year with 32. Mm-hmm. And it's not like last year we were like barely making the playoffs. We were seen as a perennial Stanley Cup contender. And he's only taken a step since then. Up to the point where a lot of people are starting to say, maybe Wyatt Johnston should be on that Olympic team for Canada come next year. So it's kind of like Harley a little bit. He's finally starting to get the accolades a little bit for what he deserves. And unlike some of the players that we see on Team Canada, he plays two-way. Like he can, like we always talk about, Canada can put together the superstar lineup. Well, you don't always need superstars to put a lineup together. Well, in his case, he is a guy who is turning from a really good player into an elite player, and he can play two-way, and he can score you goals. He plays in every single situation. He leads the Stars in time on ice, average per game by almost over a minute.
Yeah.
And again, over all of these players, all the players I mentioned, Robertson, Rope, Douche, like all of them, all of them. It doesn't matter who it is. He leads all of the forwards in time on ice. So, in the fact that he got 8.4, I was blown away. I thought for sure he was going to be the Stars' first $10 million player, and Rantanen proved me wrong.
Yeah.
Now, the one surprising thing I was surprised about that I was right about was the fact that he took a 5-year deal. That is the one thing that I was very surprised about, and I think the Rantanen deal kind of pushed it that way a little bit, if I'm being honest with you. But at the same time, he's betting on himself a little bit too, and instead of taking the full stability of an 8-year contract, I mean, in 5 years, who knows what the cap is going to look like? And then that's when he's really going to cash in, like Rantanen literally just did. And he could be a $14 million player or $15 million player by the time he gets there. Who knows? So I thought it was a great deal for both. I am a little bit surprised at the lower cap hit that he took, but I've always been surprised about how Jim Nill gets these guys to sign lower cap hits. So, I mean, Matt Duchene at $3 million, that's the best value contract in the league. Harley, when he signed his, I think, I forget what it is, $4 million, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's $4 million. Yeah.
So I shouldn't be surprised, but I am.
Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep that feeling of being fuller longer. The fact that Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids, is why they're fantastic. They also have no shells. No shells, Wonderful Pistachios for that grab and go ease. The satisfying crack, though, of opening each shell. That's my favorite part about a pistachio. It is what you need, a wonderful pack of protein. Be sure to get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. It's Wonderful Pistachios. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. So. Yeah, I thought the Rantanen deal was great on a lot of different fronts because it of course gave that top line a right winger. And it allows Johnston to be your third line center. Dallas being strong down the middle will help in the playoffs. Like Wyatt Johnston out of your 3-hole with Dutchy and Rope above him. That is a dangerous deep team. And you have Robo that will need another contract here in a few years. And you bring up Duchene. That's why I also like the Rantanen deal. Can you rely on Matt Duchene to come back again on a team-friendly deal? Maybe, because he really wants to be here and he loves Dallas, and he did it last year. But his production, again, has been phenomenal. Can you rely on him to come back at a team-friendly deal? But probably even more importantly, can you really rely on Matt Duchene to have a big postseason? We were hoping that was going to be the case last year, and it didn't quite happen. Of course, he had the big double overtime goal to knock out Colorado. But outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot from Dutchy. And Duchene's been so good this whole season. He's probably the best forward from start to finish so far this year for Dallas. Probably not much of an argument there. Maybe you could throw Rope into the conversation. Is Dutchy going to have the legs or juice left in the Stanley Cup playoffs? I hope so. I really do. But Rantanen will give you some juice, and that's another guy you can rely on. So I think his contract extension in the deal just solidified a lot of things in place for Dallas. You got Jamie Benn, of course, coming off the books this next year. He's going to take a team-friendly deal, you would suppose. And then you got Sagan even in a couple years. So that was what I loved about it. The Stars aren't mortgaging their future. They're still in this window of like the next decade of being extremely freaking good. And adding Rantanen doesn't hurt that. And I think that's my takeaway from the entire thing.
Yeah, all the things you said are true. There are some teams who we're looking at now who mortgage their future and they're paying for it now. Like obviously Boston, they're not going to make the playoffs this year. If they do, it'll be a miracle. Pittsburgh, there's no chance they make the playoffs. Like there's zero chance, zero in my opinion. And the Stars gave up a whole lot for getting a guy that is in his prime. But again, you have to swing. You have to swing sometimes. And that's what the Stars did when they went out and got Joe Nieuwendyk and trade Jerome McGinley away. They didn't necessarily fully know what they had in Jerome McGinley. But you looking back, if you knew that he was going to be a Hall of Famer, you do that deal 20 times over again.
Yeah.
For the one Stanley Cup that the Stars got in 1999. Like, and this it could be this generations of Stars fans Jerome McGinley deal. Like this giving up Stankoven for Rantanen could bring us the cup. And this could be the deciding factor of getting the Stars over that hump of not just getting in the Stanley Cup final, but winning the whole dang thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the right move to do. It sucks because of what you have to give up, but it was the right thing to do. Now, in terms of the whole being worried about Rantanen thing, here's the thing about Stars fans, if you're worried about it. Who is your GM? I mean, if you're looking for a bigger character guy, you're not looking any further than Jim Nill. And Jim Nill gave up a character guy in Logan Stankoven to go get Mikko Rantanen. And you're telling me he didn't go and do his normal vetting process like he does with every other player? Don't give me that. I don't believe it one bit in the fact that he's not going to be a good fit. People in Boston were saying the same thing about Tyler Seguin when he got traded. And they were like, oh, well, he's a party boy and he's not going to be a real player. And then, 12, 13 years later, however long it's been since he's been here, he's still a Dallas Star. And he's I would argue, one of the best Dallas Stars of all time. He's up there.
Yeah, it's been a cornerstone. He's been a cornerstone of the franchise.
Exactly. So I'm not worried about that. If it was somebody else, if it was a different GM who wouldn't do their due diligence, like, I'm sorry, no offense, Carolina, like Eric Tulsky, who didn't do his due diligence and making sure that he signed Rantanen to an extension before he made the trade, then yes, I would be worried if it was Tulsky. But it's Jim Nill, guys. Let's be honest. We should have full 100% confidence in this guy.
Yeah, the Carolina situation really boggles the mind, and who knows if we'll ever get the full truth on everything. But from what it sounds like, Carolina went and got him without ever talking to the Rantanen camp about possibly signing an extension. So it's almost hard to feel bad for them. But I also give them credit on switching to a plan B and getting the most out of him in return. And, I said this on Friday, who cares about the picks? Of course, the Stars have been great at drafting in later rounds. And that's why I don't put much stock into picks either, for a few reasons. Right now, the Stars are too good of a team. They don't need to care about picks. They're going to be picking 26 through 32, and you're grasping at straws at that point, although the Stars have been really good. But I also think it does say we're going to bet on our scouting staff to find value in the picks that we do have, and they've been able to do that. Look at Stankoven and look at Robertson, look at Johnston, where they've been able to get some of these really key pieces on their team now, late in the first round or even into the second round. So I think it also is putting a bet like, yeah, we're giving up a lot of picks, but we're going to be fine. Our scouting department's great, and they're going to find a way to get players in here. But right now, Stars have a lot of players. Were you disappointed at all that they didn't add a defenseman? Of course, a lot of people were hoping they would prioritize that spot. When I step back, I just don't know if there was a lot of players out there that are going to be massive improvements to your line. It would have been nice to maybe have a Ristolainen, but again, I just don't know if there's a lot out there that they could have brought in and be like, okay, this is a massive improvement to what we already have, in my opinion. But I'm curious your take on that.
I kind of agree with you. There's wasn't much out there that was, and Jim Nell, you and I both listened to DLLS, and Jim Nell said that it was a seller's market because there were not very many sellers. And when you look at the players that left, the only one that I would consider that I would really, 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 really want defense wise was Noah Dobson, and he was not available. He did not get traded. And then
Wyatt Johnston for that too, probably.
No, there's no chance that's happening. Yeah. And then the only one that really interested me that I was like, wow, okay, that's actually a really good deal was actually Toronto getting Brandon Carlo. That was a guy that I was just like, you know what? That is a very good move. Like, he's a right-handed guy. He's a nasty guy. Someone that can play in one of your bottom four pairings. But at the same time, I'm like, look at what they gave up for Brandon Carlo. You could argue that the value was similar to what they gave up for Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah.
And now they had to throw a little bit extra in there for Mikko Rantanen. But you're telling me that you would rather go get Brandon Carlo over Mikko Rantanen and throw in a little bit extra to get Mikko Rantanen? You can't tell me that. And then the other thing is that it is absolutely fair to criticize the defensive part of the team because that is the weakest part of this team. They're top 10 in goals against.
I know.
and exactly. That's with Matt Dumba in the lineup regularly, Brendan Smith regularly in the lineup. And it's I think the first thing that Jim Null talked about when I think it might have been Robert who asked him a question about, there's some people who wanted you to go out and get defense. And he was like, why didn't you do that? I'm paraphrasing. That's not exactly what he said. But the first thing that came out of Jim Nell's mouth was the emergence of Thomas Harley. Thomas Harley is becoming a perennial name in this league. And everybody saw it at the Four Nations tournament. Yeah. Everybody. And you know what? It opened my eyes. I was blind to how good Thomas Harley truly was. Like, I knew he was a good defenseman. I knew he was top 2 capable. I knew that he was very good. But it wasn't until after the Four Nations tournament when, there's whispers from us, from DLS, from Spits and Suds, all these guys. Is Harley a number 1 defenseman? We had to have that. Yeah. We had to have that legit conversation, right? Like, and there's arguments there for him. So, because of his emergence on the blue line, that allowed Jim Nell confidence to go and make this Mikko Rantanen deal and not regret, the possibility of getting Carlo or Dobson or whoever at the trade deadline. And I'm sorry, Ristolainen for a first round pick? No, not a chance.
Yeah. And Risto may have been a good fit and somebody could throw in your top 4, but you're right. I think it would have been a pretty heavy market. And Philadelphia just wasn't going to give him up for nothing, especially with what some other players were going for. If they weren't going to get their asking price, they weren't going to deal him. And I said this a bit tongue in cheek on the Thursday episode before the deadline when the first initial report came out that the Stars may have been interested in Mikko. And I said, okay, Stars fans, I hear that you're saying, Joey, they need to prioritize defensemen. But
I remember you saying that.
What if you outscore everybody? And look, the Stars are doing that to some degree recently. Like their offense is great. And I brought this up with you, and I think I brought it up over the last few weeks. I'm on a lot of different outlets I've been on. They brought me on 105 to 5-3 The Fan the other day to talk about the Rantanen trade too. I said, a lot of the Stars' downfall in the last few years in the postseason has been offense. It really hasn't been the defense all that much. And maybe you could say they need some better goaltending here and there in some spots, but it's the power play and it's the offense that has really shriveled up. So we'll see what they can do here down the stretch. And I don't want to. I don't want to blatantly lie to every Stars fans out there. I think there are some real problems on the back end, and yes, it could rear its ugly head in the postseason. I'm not going to be blind to that. I think they have holes and it's going to be loose. But they must be betting on the fact too. They feel comfortable that Miro is going to come back in time. We hope, and hopefully he can play to the level we think Miro can play at. And Harley's Oh, he's a great shout. As you mentioned, I said this a lot early last season. I think he's going to be a top 20 defenseman at some point in his career. Looks like he's more like going to be hovering around top 10 at some point. And maybe he's kind of in that conversation, maybe still a bit premature, but imagine Miro and Harley. You got two guys that are going to be somewhere in the top 10 at all points during their career. That is huge. And I would love to go dig up a tweet I had when Harley was drafted by the Stars. I think I tweeted out, I think it was 2018 or however, said, "Oh, bigger Miro." And it's like kind of coming true. Like he's a bigger Miro, but a lot more offensive upside too, as he's been showing. God, he's been phenomenal. I think 14 points or something like that in 11 games since Miro's been out. Like he's been great. The power play has certainly helped out the uptick there. So the blue line's going to be interesting, and look, we'll be talking about it for another month. So we'll end the conversation there.